Europe, or lack of it, is what we're starting off with.
Yeah, it has been a pretty dismal few months for the European economies, and they haven't got much good news and figures out today. Let's start with Germany, the Eurozone's largest economy. It shrank by 0.2% between April and June of this year. A pretty shock result, I suppose, or data coming from the Europe's largest economy, of course considered the engine of European growth. Similar figures from Italy last week showed a contraction there. That's, of course, Europe's third largest economy. And France came out top of the class, unbelievably, with zero growth for the first 6 months of this year. Strangely positive, I suppose, sentiment from what is a pretty dismal figure for the French economy. The French Finance Minister, Michel Sapin, says the country will also miss its budget deficit target for this year. That could land it in hot water with the European Commission. It's committed to bringing its deficit down to 3% of GDP by next year. That now looks very unlikely, even more unlikely than before. Not helpful for the French government, who'd promised 1% growth this year. They've now had to cut that estimate in half after months of pressure. But speaking on French radio this morning, Michel Sapin said it was reasonable not for them to cut the forecast before now.
Our growth forecast of 1% was also the forecast given by international bodies. I've heard people say we were too optimistic, but the IMF forecast this. So did the OECD and the European Commission. This figure was common to all, and we are revising it now. The situation has changed. It is a lot less favourable. I am revising the forecast.
Some good news for France, though, this morning, as the number of people in work has risen slightly in the second quarter of this year. 15,000 jobs were created in France between April and June after the loss of 21,000 in the first 3 months for this year. So cold comfort for the French government.
And how's all this been hitting the markets?
A pretty negative sweep across the open at the European markets in trading today. The CAC 40 in Paris down, most significantly, you can see down 0.4% there. Those hopes of a European recovery seem to have been dashed with these latest figures. We'll get the Eurozone-wide data in just a couple of hours' time, which will give us a more complete picture, but pretty dismal results out so far today. Over in Asia, it was a pretty mixed picture on the market. The Nikkei closing up 0.2%. That Shanghai Composite figure is, as you can imagine, wrong. It's down slightly less than that. The Chinese market's closing slightly down.
Would have been an impressive slide. We're sorry about that. European agriculture officials getting together today. One of Europe's economic problems is related to fruit production.
Yeah, that's right. A special meeting of the European Commission's Agriculture Committee will be discussing how to support producers affected by the Russian import ban on fruit. In Belgium, though, they're going one step further, encouraging people to eat an extra pear a week to help local producers who've lost Russian consumers. Nicholas Rushworth has more.
Munching more pears in a town called Pear in Belgium. People here are defying the Russian ban on European food imports by eating an extra pear a week. That's to make up for the loss of business with Russia, which comes to 90,000 tonnes a year. Sales of pears have doubled.
I used to take a couple, but now I buy 4. What a drama.
Defiant pear-eating Belgians have taken to the social networks to say they will resist President Vladimir Putin. Belgium is the third largest pear producer after the Netherlands and Spain in the European Union. The campaign is welcomed by local producers. 2/3 of Belgian pears go to Russia.
It's heartwarming to see this. It shows we're not being forgotten. A sign, perhaps, that we can change things.
Across the border in France, consumers say they would follow the Belgian example.
I prefer buying local produce.
I have favoured French producers for a long time.
Aside Belgian pears, the Russian embargo is also hitting other European food exports, from Norwegian salmon to Dutch cheese.
One piece of corporate news coming from China today. Reports in the Chinese media saying that the car maker Audi has been fined $40 million for anti-competitive practices. It's part of an ongoing investigation into alleged price fixing that's reportedly implicated 1,000 firms in the auto industry there. Now, the Chinese authorities had already announced that they would punish Audi for breaking the country's anti-monopoly laws.
Finally, Stephen, it's holiday season here in Europe, and out-of-office auto-reply is a fairly common feature of online life at the moment. There's a German company that's got a different idea.
Some would say an even better idea, and that is simply to just delete all of the emails that you get while you're on holidays. This is the German carmaker Daimler, which is offering its workers the chance to simply not accept emails while they're away. Instead, recipients will receive a message saying that their email hasn't been received and they should contact somebody else. The idea is that workers should be able to come back from their holidays to a fresh start and avoid that dread that affects all of us of having thousands of emails to read when you come back from a week's holidays.
Delete all, a very nice option. Thanks very much, Stephen, for that round of the business. Time to say hello to Florence Villemino, who's going to be taking us through the international
Hi, Chris.
papers. Fourth